in the name of love. You may be seated. In the words of Madeleine L'Engle, this is the irrational season when love blooms bright and wild. Had Mary been filled with reason, there'd been no room for the child. Good morning, all saints. Can you believe that we are just 1 week away from Christmas Eve? Me neither. Next Sunday, we will gather together in this space to wonder at the birth of the Christ child. In that baby, we will see the sacredness of every child, and we will renew our pledge to change ourselves and our world so that no child is born into deathly circumstances, not here and not anywhere in the world. Today, we prepare to celebrate the mystery of a God so in love with us that God became one of us, fragile and dependent on tender care. The Christ child opens our hearts so that we can tenderly care for one another. Are you ready for Christmas? If you're like me, the answer would be no. There are shopping lists, decorations, donations, dinners, and more. Rather than contemplating the wonder of Advent, some of us are wondering what political views Aunt Betty will bring this year along with her famous fruitcake. Maybe we are worried if anyone will visit us at all, or whether ourselves will make too many trips to the punch bowl. The reality is that this season brings sadness at the loss of people no longer with us, and the disappointment of dreams painfully not realized. In today's culture, it is hard to quietly reflect and listen to what newness God is birthing in us and all around us. It is difficult to be filled with wonder in a world torn by war and devastation, and where differences are settled by violence. We are at a threshold, my friends. Some might even say we're at the brink. How do we find our way to joy and wonder in this Advent of 2023? We need hope and restoration through connection to the love that can hold all that we feel and experience. Let's see how our readings today might help us. The gospel reading from the first chapter of Mark describes the very opening scenes in Jesus' ministry as he listens to God's Spirit within him. Mark's gospel is fast-paced, and it is foreshadowed in the verses that come before our reading. Jesus has received his baptismal identity as God's beloved. He has wrestled in the wilderness with what that identity means, and he has proclaimed the year of God's favor. Although these stories we most often hear during Lent, they resonate in Advent too because they remind us that the Spirit's birthing is never done. Regardless of our limitations and failures, or the messages we've taken in about ourselves or our worth, regardless of the brutal violence in the world, God is with us. God is still co-creating with us, unique people and community that we are, so that like Jesus, we can create the year of favor in 2023 and 24 and all the years of our lives. This gospel is striking for the immediacy of Jesus' healing and restorative presence. 3 individual healings are recorded in just this opening chapter alone, 2 of which are included in our readings today. The first is Peter's mother-in-law, who was downed by a fever. In those days, fevers were more dangerous and could mean serious illness that too often led to death. Yet, with a touch, Jesus brings this beloved woman back from the brink, takes her hand and raises her up. This is the same power of God's Spirit in creation and the power of the resurrection after Jesus' death. Now, it is not lost on many of us that Peter's mother-in-law was made well just in time to serve dinner. And all the implications of subservience in a patriarchal culture are worthy of mentioning here. It is also true that Peter's unnamed mother-in-law is the first person in the gospel to serve in Mark's ideal of discipleship, that is healing, that in turn serves others. The word for serve here is used only 2 other times, referring to the angels ministering to Jesus, and Jesus' self-giving life and death. One could surmise that Jesus was proud to be identified with these holy women. The second healing scene continues to assert Jesus' authority over disease and all forces that oppose human well-being and thriving. It took courage to disrupt the exclusion system that ostracized and blamed illnesses on those who were ill. We might observe that the man healed of a skin disease was named and defined by his illness. He is forever known as the leper. We hear versions of that today in comments like, the homeless don't want help, or addicts are weak. How often do we hear all those black and brown people would not be in jail if they obeyed the law? It is easier, even profitable, to criminalize and exclude rather than change systems of poverty and oppression. But Jesus would have none of that nonsense. The religious dogma of his day forbade healing on the Sabbath and blamed illness on individual or family sin. Jesus ignored both. The word compassion is powerful in this reading. It conveys the experience of being moved in the bowels or gut. Jesus was more compassionately powerful than leprosy. Jesus also had intuitive brilliance, enabling him to heal both illness and systemic causes of illness, all in one act. The man is thus restored to health and inclusion in the community. Word got out, and people came out of the woodwork, seeking God's love and restoration brought to bear in Jesus' touch. Perhaps the sheer number of people drawing on Jesus' healing energy played a part in his request that the healed man not tell others. We don't know. Instead, Jesus instructs him to show himself to the religious authorities to demonstrate that God's grace transcends all barriers imposed by false dogma. A prophet, Jesus spoke truth to power on behalf of a divine vision of wholeness for all. Jesus was willing to do the unconventional so that he could accomplish the unlikely. These are beautiful stories of wonder and mystery, not only for that ancient time, but here and now. God's love and power brings us back from whatever brink we are on. God desires to make us whole and has the power to accomplish it. Yet, we are children of postmodernism, suspicious of things that are not explained by our rational minds. It can even feel foolish to entertain the possibility that there are comforting realities that exist beyond our understanding. It is what it is, we say. It's challenging to trust that we live and breathe and have our being in an incarnational world where things are not only what they are, but also stand in for something supreme and unseen. I suspect that if we dwell in the truth that God's presence is real in us and in everything around us, we will find joy and beauty, awakening our passion to heal and restore a broken world. We just need to pause and drink it in. That's what Jesus did. His vision came from contemplation and the love it reveals. He withdrew from the noise and the trauma of being near much suffering, and he prayed, reconnecting to the source of his own belovedness. Maybe he reflected on the awareness of God's healing energy dwelling within him. You see, awe is not only something we easily feel in the presence of beauty. It is an exercise both in doing and being. It is a spiritual muscle in our humanity that requires practice and strengthening. Awe is not a lens through which to see the world, but truly our soul path to seeing what is real. Any other lens is not a lens, but a veil. I have come to believe that our beholding, seeing the veils of this world peeled back again and again, if only for a moment, is no small form of salvation. When I speak of wonder, I mean the practice of beholding the beauty and the brokenness of our lives and the world together, like two wings of a bird. Wonder includes the capacity to be in awe of humanity, even our own. There are countless things that distract us from the beauty flowing through us daily. We must be able to marvel at the face of our neighbor with the same awe we have for sunlight refracting from a mountaintop. This manner of vision will keep us from destroying each other. Wonder requires a person not to forget themselves, but to feel themselves so acutely that their connectedness to every single thing comes into focus. In sacred awe, we are all part of the story of restoration and tikkun, the healing of the world. Reflecting on my own Advent experience, I think I sometimes forget that while Advent is about waiting for the appearance of God, it is even more about being aware that God is waiting for me with something powerful and real. God meets us with tender desire to heal us and to raise us up to be God's healing energy in the world. It is a mystery and a wonder. It is awesome. It is the only unshakable ground of joy. When is the time for love to be born? The inn is full on the planet Earth, and by a comet the sky is torn. Yet love still takes the risk of birth. Yet love still takes the risk of birth. Blessed Mother, pregnant with the expectation of your holy child, grant us the courage to hope and the discipline to act on that hope that is the day spring of our family of faith. May blessings abound on this last week of Advent. Amen.